Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, we're going to be talking about leadership. How do you lead a company when most of your employees are working from home? We'll talk to some leading national experts next on the Jeff Crilley Show.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
So I'm a company owner. I have 20 employees, and I like to pride myself on having a great workplace culture. But in the early days of the pandemic, the county judge closed down all non-essential services. And so all of our employees had to work from home. And frankly, as an owner and boss, I was scared. I mean, how do you keep that workplace culture together when everybody's working from home? And that describes millions of companies across the country right now. To talk about that, 2 leading national experts, Meg Manke to my right here, and to my far right, Dr. Rachel Headley. They are with Rose Group International. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah. Thanks for having us, Jeff.
Thanks for having us.
Well, I know because I got a chance to hear you guys speak early this morning. This has been a long day for you already. They were speaking they were headlining at Success North Dallas, that you guys are doing a lot of coaching these days because so many companies are kind of in the same situation. I'll start with you, Meg. What are some problems that you're seeing, and how are you helping your clients work through them?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges we're seeing is people are burning out. You know, you hear about Zoom burnout, and in our business, we think, we work a lot remotely. Even before COVID happened, we worked remotely, and we're like, well, what's Zoom burnout? Everybody's already in meetings all day long. And so we've done a lot of sort of soul searching and talking about what does that actually mean? And what it means is Zoom burnout isn't just I'm sitting in front of a screen all day. It's I'm sitting in front of a screen and I'm rocking a baby over here, and my husband's in another room pretending to have a meeting, or I can't. There's nowhere for me to run.
Did that come from your real life?
No, maybe a little.
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah, and we've got clients in Manhattan, and they say we want to get out and do things, but the streets are crowded because there's nowhere for people to go. So everybody's out walking and running and walking their dog. So real burnout just about life is a major challenge that we're seeing right now for all of our clients and just across the world.
Dr. Headley, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I do. One of the other things that we're seeing, especially with CEOs, is as the pandemic continues and there's a lot of economic uncertainty and some industries are struggling more than others, we've been talking to CEOs that they're getting pressure from their boards or the ownership of the company to decrease costs, and with the idea of revenues are down, but yet they want to honor their people and they don't want to lay off people. And then how do you do? So they have pressure on themselves and pressure from their people to be a good boss and pressure from their board to do the right thing with their people and their costs. And they just don't have a lot of places to turn. And so a lot of people are really anxious right now about just the decisions that have to be made from a business perspective too. So there's a lot going on right now.
Well, the other thing that I've observed is you have these rock star employees who are people. Mm-hmm. They're pleasers, they're out there, and suddenly they're at home. And so that rock star may turn into like depression, right?
Yes.
How do you deal with the rock star employee who is now like suffering with some isolation issues?
Rachel can answer this question. She is the people person in our team.
For sure. Meg wouldn't care if she never came to the office, so she's fine being home alone. I think the key is to try to be creative. It's, that we work with clients in the UK, and they really are focused on their social bubbles. So how can you connect and be with a smaller group of people that feels more safe than perhaps just being in the general population? So in our company, we are still all coming to the office, but that's sort of our bubble. So we know that if we go out into the world and we go to the store, that we're exposing not only ourselves, but also the people in our bubble. So that, for me, is the way that I've managed to stay sane, is that I'm not just at home with my people. We've expanded it out a little bit into friends and family that we feel safe around and somewhat protected from the general population. So I think that's got to be a strategy for long term.
And mental health seems to be the issue of the day, and most bosses, they're not equipped to deal with mental health issues. What do you do when your client comes to you and says, hey, I'm starting to see some strange behavior from employees that I used to rely on when they were coming into the office, and how do you navigate that?
Well, my background is in HR, so my first piece of advice is, do you have an EAP, an employee assistance program? And if you do, hook them up with one of the therapists or something that's through your EAP, because that's free service to them and can be super beneficial, and it's anonymous, so you can use it without anybody knowing who's using it. But then I would say, beyond that, if you don't have that as an option, really just sit down with your people. And say, a lot of our client engagements that we've done, I just say, how are you guys feeling about all this new stuff that's going on in COVID? And they just sort of unload. It's just a waterfall of, oh my gosh, am I going to lose my job because I have to stay home with my kids? And you can just see the weight lift off of people just because they get to share. And the other thing that's therapeutic about it is you get to share your story, and it's similar to other people's stories. So then when you have people nodding their head like, oh yeah, me too, you're like, okay, good, I'm not alone. So I think really just giving people the opportunity to share what they're nervous about really makes a difference.
Awesome. I want to give everybody more information about this company. I found a great video. Let's go ahead and roll that now.
Things that we do all the time for clients is we help with transitions. And the way that we do that's very special, that no one else really does, is we take a look at how each one of your team members in your organization works in a team environment. And so, are you a startup that has a lot of independence? Are you a more traditional company, or perhaps manufacturing or healthcare that tends to have a lot more caregivers, a lot more connectors and stabilizers? And depending on who you are and what kind of organization you have, we get to strategically design ways to get through transitions in a way that is more effective, saves money, keeps your best people, and actually helps you achieve your targets, stay on track, stay productive.
All the predictions they gave me about my team, and this was 6 months ago we went through this exercise, have come true. They were spot on the point with their recommendations to me about the team, and it's all come true. So I really thank them for what they've done, and we're going to build that in as a permanent program to help us all work together as a team better.
Every client, when we leave, every client has a culture of saying the things that need said, because that's what's actually hurting business today, is the unspoken conversations, the things that are said behind somebody's back environment. We take out that ugly emotional side of things and reappropriate those feelings.
Wonderful. That was a great video. And you talked about kind of onboarding employees. It occurred to me that we have a weird situation where sometimes you've got a virtual interview and then you're onboarding an employee who's not reporting to an office. That's got to be strange.
Common. Yeah, it's interesting too. We were talking to a client, and they had hired people and onboarded them and were working with them on Zoom. And then they all went back to the office, and they immediately let somebody go because they were like, you know how you meet somebody and you just know they're not going to work? They had really missed that connection over the Zoom interaction that they've had. And they weren't performing quite up to what they thought and those sorts of things. So I think I think you have to hire that way right now. I think you have to do the best you can. But I think after we all come back to the office, there might be some more reshuffling.
Wow. I want to talk about your book because we alluded to it in the video. We're going to go ahead and show the book cover. Tell us about the book.
Yeah, well, it's our theory basically that we've created, IX leadership. IX stands for internal experience. And what we really focus on with all of our clients and in everything that we do, every engagement, is really about understanding your people inside your business. And then that actually grows everything outside your business. So, if you treat your people poorly or don't pay attention to them, that's what's going to happen to your client. And so the book has 3 parts to it, and it really walks you through kind of the first piece is know yourself and understand that, and then understand the team dynamics and how do you all work together, and then what does that look like in change, which is really where we focus a lot of our time, helping companies through change and transition, like a global pandemic.
Yes.
And then we have all of our leadership materials is the 3rd section, and so we're really happy that we were able to sort of bring all that to bear through a book, because it gives somebody a digestible piece of,
Yes.
a digestible tool that they can actually go use.
And I know you guys wrote the book before the pandemic, but a lot of chapters really are still relevant despite the fact that many people are working from home.
Yeah.
Talk about keeping that culture alive when everybody's working remotely. We hear about Zoom fatigue. We hear about Zoom happy hours. I mean, in the old days, a lot of people would put in a ping pong table and call that workplace culture.
Right.
So what is workplace
Right.
culture these days?
It's really interesting because some of us really want that connection. Like you were saying, your rock star employees that are those people, and they're high-fiving, and they're eating lunch that Jeff brings in every day, and drinking wine and having a great time. But I know people that they're trying to have Zoom happy hour, and I know a woman in particular who's an EA of a very high-level executive, and she despises it. She feels like she's already stressed out. She's an introvert. She's already stressed out by trying to be on all the time on camera. And the last thing she wants to do is be on a Zoom party or whatever. So
Right.
I think you have to give people a little more space. If you understand who your people are, you can better structure those sorts of engagements and the virtual activities and maybe the little pods of social bubbles. Possibly. And so I think you have to be really, first of all, understand your people. And that's kind of the IX leadership motto is, do you have people that want to be in a team environment? Do you want people that want to just stay at home and work by themselves? Do you want people that have a challenge and new things and are tired of the routine? That's the other piece that people are really struggling with. So how can you inject some fun and chaos into their world that kind of juices them up the way that they did beforehand?
Yes.
So I think understanding your people and how and where you want them to go together, I think is critically important.
Well, one of the things you said this morning that really struck me is the need for coaching. And I think a lot of CEOs are trying to navigate this on their own. How do you know when you need a coach?
Well, that is the $1 million question. I think, what we're hearing from people, I think when you start to feel like you're a little bit desperate or grasping at things that, you're thinking, God, that's not actually going to work, but maybe I should try it. I think that's the moment where, well, you darn well better get a coach. You probably should have had one, a month before that. But I think the thing that's really interesting about executive coaching is that you can go get it and it helps you, and then you can stop it at any time. So I think that, we kind of think it has this stigma of, oh God, this person's going to latch on to me forever and they're going to want to be my coach forever,
That's true.
Yeah.
I want to be.
Right. I want to be your friend forever. But I think that, if you need them, and it's like right now when you're trying to sort out a few issues, write down those few issues, search for a coach that gives you what you need, and just, go talk with somebody. And so I think that, kind of erasing that stigma, and that's a big piece of it. Because to your point, how do you know when you need one? Well, everyone doesn't need one because we all know everything, right? And so if you get rid of that stigma, then
Right.
you can say, oh, I need one right now.
And a lot of times that's the win for us, is we are co-founders, we're 50-50 owners. Saying words out loud to another smart person is often all you need. I'm sure you've had that experience where you've been digging through your own head and spinning on something for a while, and as soon as you say the words out loud to somebody, and maybe it's the expression on their face, maybe it's just you hearing the words, it makes you go, oh yeah, that actually would work, or oh yeah, that's a bad idea. So often it's just the sounding board of someone who's been there. I mean, that's the other benefit of working with a coach, is that we've not only struggled with our own firm, for us as an example, but we've heard hundreds of executives struggle with the same challenges. So we can give you a perspective of, well, we've seen somebody try this and we've seen somebody try that. That's beyond more than just our experience. So I think that's really where a professional coaches can really support you.
Wow. Well, I'm afraid we're out of time for this segment. We're going to put the website up so everybody can get in touch. rosegroupinternational.com is the website. Dr. Rachel, Dr.
Doctor, can I give you?
You bet.
You can totally call her doctor.
I think I'm
It's a doctorate in life. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Thank you both for being on the show.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Jeff.
You bet. And that's it for now. We'll see you next time.